Yes, now let's get the show on the road. And of course, we're going to be beginning with that topic you're thinking about. Subsidy removal, counting the costs. And like my partner muttered when we were reading out the menu, very costly indeed. The government decided, well, the government told us that it could no longer afford to pay for a costly fuel subsidy regime. And the new president reiterated that when he took his oath of office on Monday. Then the chief executive of the state-owned firm NMPC Limited said a day after that subsidy would be scrapped. He also reiterated that. Removing the subsidy, which cost about $10 billion last year, was one of President Tinubu's campaign promises. But the last time a government tried to end it in 2012, I'm sure you all can recall what happened. Remember Occupy Nigeria? Yes. That was because of an attempt to remove subsidy. But it looks like subsidy is gone now, as the new president said on Monday. And we are still feeling the effects of the subsidy removal. To look at this with us this morning, it's my pleasure to welcome the former executive secretary of MOMAN, which is the Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Olawuri. Good morning. Good to see you again. We also have in the studio a legal practitioner, Mr. Tony Dania.
Good morning.
And joining us from Abuja is the head of the Center for Sustainable Mobility and Access Development, our friend, Dr. Kayode Okpefa. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Lagos.
Yes. So, let me begin with the lawyer who will act as a layman in our circumstance today. You are a user of this product, like Mr. Moman and Mr. Okpefa, but I'm sure your ideas about this subsidy removal are going to be quite different from theirs. So, what has your experience been since this happened?
Well, it has been hectic, just like other Nigerians, but permit me to say that we've been toying with this removal of subsidy since the 90s. Because subsidy was introduced in the 70s when Obasanjo was the head of state. And in 1992, fuel prices moved from 15 kobo to 60 kobo. We were complaining. And then
I didn't know that worse was to come.
Yes. And we've been toying with this idea of removal of fuel subsidy. And we all know that it will happen one day. But what we ought to take certain steps. There's no way we can take all the steps to prevent issues when it is removed, but at least there are certain basic steps that ought to be taken. For example, apart from the mistrust between Nigerians and the people leading us, there's also the issue of corruption, people negatively exploiting the regime of subsidy to enrich their pocket in billions. Then there is also the bottleneck protocols in the importation and delivery of petroleum products. For example, you get the PRO to give you a permit to import, you spend money there. When you are importing, you pay import duties. When it arrives, you still pay. If you are using a big vessel to carry your product and you need to lighten it up with a small vessel, you get permit, approval from Navy, you get from all sorts. NIMASA will collect money, you pay to customs. All this add to the cost of delivery product to the consumers. So what have we done about transportation? Coming here took me about 1 hour on the road, and I spent about 40,000 filling my tank. So if I spend that 1 hour on the road, achieving nothing. So there are certain basic infrastructure that ought to have been put in place. And again, if you say increase salary, which is inevitable, and then if you increase salary and the purchasing power is reduced because of the cost of fuel, the increase is X amount. And nobody has told us the amount being paid by government as subsidy.
We'll come to the other issues of salary increase and the rest of it, but you know, DPR no longer exists, so we now have the NMDPRA.
Yes.
So, which is a product of the PIA,
Yes.
Petroleum Industry Act. Do you think the Petroleum Industry Act has anything to do, I mean, speaking as a lawyer, has any way of helping this situation?
No.
Or, because there are those who say it's an implementation. This fuel subsidy removal is part of the implementation of the law.
Well, I have not seen any specific section of that law that relates to subsidy removal. Subsidy removal is a part of a reform.
Does it support subsidy? The law?
Yes. It gives room for reformation and deregularization of the petroleum sector.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and the subsidy removal is part of the reforms we're talking about.
Okay.
What we are saying is that...
So essentially you're saying that the law doesn't particularly support a subsidy regime?
No.
Okay.
So if the end thing is that we know that with time, I've granted interview on this your station, that with time subsidy will be removed. What we are saying is that the cart was put before the horse. Certain basic steps ought to have been taken.
Such as?
Okay. You understand? Such as reducing the bottleneck. If you want to do STS, which is called ship-to-ship transaction, because most of the time you come with big vessel carrying big product. You know, if you want to carry fuel in commercial quantity, you use vessel, you use tanker vessel, and sometimes the tanker vessels are very big.
Essentially the entire
regime, the chain, we need to be overhauled.
Okay, we wanted to.
Okay, Mr. Lowry, you are an interested party.
As a Nigerian.
No, as former Secretary of Mormon. We have been hearing of this subsidy thing for a long time, and we knew that it was a matter of time. Subsidy was going to go. Do you think that this is the right time? And do you believe that government did enough to alleviate the suffering that the people would go through as a result of subsidy?
It's always interesting to ask oneself, what is the right time?
Now.
For me, the right time should have been yesterday. Why? All the past reviews of prices have been feeble attempts to deregulate. Very feeble. Because if you recall, all these things started around 1973 when PEF came on board. By that time, they were subsidizing only the transportation. Product wasn't part of it. Why? Our refineries were okay, relatively. But now, we cannot, the financial strength of the country cannot sustain subsidy. I overheard the financial authorities saying that they don't even have the dollar to give to anybody that wants to import. So people should look for how to bring in the product.
On their own.
On their own. You see, what we have been observing is that all this, I've been filling my tank with all these thousands of naira and so on and so forth, is because only one entity is bringing in the product. So they brought out their own price to cover their various costs. Mm-hmm. But by the time the other players also bring in product, we will see.
We will see what?
We will see a reduction.
Mr. Lowry,
but
you and I know that in Nigeria, once a price goes up, it never comes down.
I can tell you, and believe me, this is not the first time that deregulation has taken place. I was a member of the committee that midwifed the deregulation in 1999. Between January 1999 and June, there was total deregulation. Government was not bringing in product. It got to a time when I had to write the late Chief Faret Adams. I think he was the Secretary to Petroleum that time, that the price was even getting too low. because many people were bringing in the product and we're not even covering cost then. So my belief, and from experience, is that, and yes, initially we're going to see what we are seeing now. But by the time everybody brings in product, come to think of it, if I bring in product and NNPC brings in product, my overhead is not as large as that of NNPC. So I can definitely bring down my price.
So if there is full deregulation, I mean, in the light of what the president is saying, that fuel subsidy is gone because government doesn't have the resources for it anymore, what should be happening now? Because as at this moment, unless there is information that is just coming out that we are not aware of, NNPC is still the sole importer.
NMDPRA has invited the major players, that's major marketers, Depot, Ipman, to come forward for license to import.
Okay.
And I'm aware that as of yesterday, because I was in NMDPRA office yesterday, as of yesterday, some of these entities have started applying for permits.
Then there's also the fear of Dangote refinery, but don't talk about that one yet. Let me take Mr. Okwefa, Dr. Okwefa on this next one. Well, Dr. Okwefa, perhaps there are a number of other things you may want to give us an idea of how governors, government at various levels should be responding to this. Already, the labor movement have already said, look, government should revert to the old price, but there's going to be a strike from Wednesday. That is one leg. Another leg of it is communicating this whole idea of this fuel subsidy thing, taking ownership of it to people. It's definitely between the rock and a hard place. But what should we be hearing from whom?
Thank you very much. And let me just, before answering the question, proceed just like Mr. Lowry said. This is not the first attempt at deregulating. Even the immediate past government of President Muhammadu Buhari made attempt in 2016. But quickly, because the government fixed a price, the market responded by describing it as liberalization. And also to let us know that over years, since 1986, we've had about 16 different price adjustments, which are all attempts also to deregulate. And also to put on record, during the period of President Muhammadu Buhari, the immediate past administration, we also have price reduction occasioned by market forces. When we moved from 97 to 143, there was a time when the price went back to 133. So that is that. So what are we talking now? Labour had decided, Nigerian Labour Congress, we can't say Labour because there are so many labour unions. The two principal labour coalition, we have the TUC and we have the NLC. NLC had called for strike on by Wednesday, and TUC has said is going ahead with negotiation. So what should be going on now? Government should intensify and continue sustainable negotiation and consultation. Now, it is also not true that we've not been having consultation or negotiations. I'm talking of between labor and government and major stakeholders. I am aware and clearly aware that during the last administration, there were a series of negotiations with labor. And that was during the time of the immediate past NLC leadership and the immediate past TUC leadership. They've been discussing. And also to put on record that the Petroleum Industrial Act 2021 have put paid to this issue of subsidy by introducing that we should go along the lines of the regulation. So what should we be doing now is government to continue that negotiation, to continue that engagement, and to continue that consultation with all interested stakeholders and all necessary stakeholders as well, to ensure that Nigerians understand what is going on and what is about to happen. What this government is about to do has never been done before, and that is to go for total deregulation, and that is the right thing to do. So it's just to appeal to government, especially, that what the people are saying is that everybody seems, majority of Nigerians seems to agree that the subsidy regime should go. I was part of a roundtable discussion Tuesday on May 23rd, just a day after the Dangote refinery commissioning, and we have Moman, Ipman, Dapman, labor activists, we have civil society, and everybody was on the same page that this thing has to go. There's too much corruption. There's too much inconsistency in the administration of the subsidy regime. So what government needs to do is to build trust from the people. And government should also come out to let the people know the plans of interventions to reduce the pain. There is never a time when you take this kind of decisions that there will not be pain or there will not be gains. There will be pains and there will be gains. But initially you will see the pains and subsequently the gains will come. In a few months from now, like Mr. Lowry said, government will have additional resources to put into social programs of education, to put something into health, more resources into health, and they will put more resources into mobility upgrades like transportation, infrastructure. Power will improve. When all this happen, the pains will go down. They will start seeing the gains. But if we continue with this regime of subsidy, the government has to communicate to the people by using the right people to communicate that we can no longer. I don't think we can sustain the subsidy regime by July. Not to talk of ending in June, because we're already operating at 96 or 98% of IGR going into debt servicing. But in 2016, we were just at 35%, spending about 2.2 billion to service them. Now we are spending almost everything we have to service them. So where is even the resources? So what government should also communicate. What is happening now is a recovery. We just have to recover and come. And this government has said from day one, during the campaigns, subsidy will not be there. All the major presidential candidates said it. Nigerians accepted those statements, and they voted overwhelmingly for the 4 major candidates, and somebody won. The person who won also said, I will remove subsidy. So I am not surprised. Okay. What we just need, on the part of government, I said, then on the part of Nigerians, is to understand this is for our prosperity. We have to take this decision now. Yoruba, people say, tita, tita, di. When you are putting marks on your face, it's painful.
Dr. Kwefa, I beg your pardon.
But at the end of the day,
I beg your pardon, Doctor. Even those who agree that subsidy must go still say that there are certain things that were not in place before it was done. For instance, people who earn as little as 50,000 naira are spending more than half of it on transportation. There are no palliatives to look after people's health, to look after transportation, and other things, even food. I mean, direct result of what happened on Monday, Tuesday, was that food prices have gone up sometimes 100%, sometimes 150, 200%. How are people of low income going to have a life in the light of this subsidy, this sudden subsidy removal?
If you listen to the president's inaugural speech, he indirectly addressed some of these issues. He said the government will look into the issue of agriculture, health, and education. He also said some other things on economy. So you are right. People expect some interventions to come up. But don't forget, we've heard this story that when we increase the price, we'll do this, we'll do that. The economy of today does not justify you waiting for those interventions. The government said they will look into salary adjustment. Government have said they will introduce commodity markets that will help the farmers to make sure that we get food at reasonable prices, cheaper prices. So all those interventions can come alongside the implementation. What we are saying is that we cannot even wait till tomorrow for the implementation, because we will not survive tomorrow. So what we need to do is what government needs to do is what government is doing now. Bring this in now, and they have directed. I think some of the, I think it was the CEO of the NMDPRA, and GCO of NMD, they've been directed to start looking at implementing the intervention. I don't call it palliatives. It is intervention.
Doctor, interventions
upgrade,
after the people have died? The interventions should have been in place before. That's what many people are saying. Not after.
Auntie Alero,
people are going to die as a result of this.
I said previous governments have promised they will do this, they will do that. This government is telling us Nigerians that, trust me, give me the benefit of doubt, or give us the benefit of doubt. We will take this thing out. We will use whatever is recovered to make sure that you live a better life. And I also said there will be pains initially, but what will come after the pain is like a pregnant woman. You are looking for a child. You go through the period of pain for that child, and immediately after, it is joy.
Okay.
And I think what Nigerians need to do is to give the government the benefit of doubt, because this government is doing something different. This government is sincere to say it is not going to allow this contraction, corruption
to continue,
and arbitrage going on with the subsidy regime to continue. And I think the government needs to be given the benefit of doubt.
Mr. Daniel.
Yes, you've taken the words from me when you were making your contribution. You see, government is a continuous entity administered by persons. Before now, certain steps ought to have been taken. This is the administration of the current president, agreed, but government has been existing. The issue of calling private participation in the importation and distribution of petroleum products ought to have been taken since. You cannot bring what we call suffering and say, while people are suffering, you are trying to now take care of what you ought to have taken care of before now.
I don't think if you don't recall what Mr. Olawore said the other time about engagements having been taking place before now, and even Dr. Okwefa said
the engagement that took place is consultation with certain persons. What is going on now is, if you know you can import, liberalization, deregularization. If you know you have the capability to import, come. That is what is going on now.
So are you in support, my apologies, are you in support of the attempt by the previous governments to collect $800 million, another $800 million loan to produce palliatives for?
I am not in support, just like I was not in support of collecting billions to pay judgment debt when the government is a continuous existence. So I am not in support
how
of it.
How will government have provided palliatives or soft landing if government doesn't even have the money at all to do anything?
See, don't forget that in the past, the refineries were operational and there were less pressure on our financial burden. So now the refineries are not working despite so much money invested in them. If we had genuinely treated the refineries the way we treated provision of GSM and network services, by now the persons operating them will be thinking of, they will be afloat. You understand? We are not talking about that. Now, if you want persons to bring in products, call them. People are bringing in kerosene. People are bringing in diesel. So why can't other persons? Why can't other bring in PMS? If they bring in PMS, with my little knowledge, I can bring PMS here and sell at 300. If you remove all the bottlenecks we have, customs, apart from collecting official, they will collect unofficial. Navy, they will collect unofficial, and the massa is there. Remove all those things. DPR, apart from official, there is unofficial. I approach it too. I represent, some traders associations too, as a lawyer. I know what they are going through. You understand me? If you remove these bottlenecks, you would have saved not less than 80 naira on the landing costs.
Mr. Daniel, what about your foreign exchange? You'll be buying foreign exchange at 770.
That is why I say the government is a continuous existence. The president has said something that is going to unify the exchange rate, which means he's going to do something. Why was that thing not done before? Now, well, let's leave the blame thing. If he does that, it will help us And then if I am bringing product, I know how to go and get my money. What is wrong in using Naira to do transaction? Tell me.
Our economy is dollarized.
No,
That's
other players can come into this industry, and let's not restrict it to the major marketers. We have major marketers, we have independent marketers. Let other person come in. Why can't we have a floating?
They've been invited now.
No, see, it's just like you want to get loan. It is only the rich persons that can get loans in Nigeria.
I disagree in this area, please, with due respect.
Yes.
With due respect.
That's
sir.
why we are here.
Yeah. And NMDPRA has said, even you can come, but they have some criteria that you must meet. Once you meet those criteria, you can go forward and then bring in the product. But what is intriguing is that between the egg and the chicken,
Which comes first?
which comes first? The present government says, I don't have the money to go ahead.
We know.
And we are saying that they should continue what was happening before.
That's not what I said.
No, I'm not saying you. Majority people are saying continue the subsidy until certain things are put in place. And they are saying that we can't. Let us be. I agree with you. I agree. Everybody is suffering the same thing.
Yeah.
I also buy in the open market just like you. So what we are saying is that, do you wait until all the rules are fixed before you remove subsidy? When you don't have, if you borrow money to pay subsidy, is there any sense in that?
We have said no to this.
There was one funny thing that happened in the past. I knew of a state government one time that borrowed money to build roundabout. And I was asking myself, how do you pay back?
You told the roundabout.
It's infrastructure. It's infrastructure.
So it's very, very...
But you know, the issues that Mr. Daniel raised, they cannot be remonstrated. The reality of what people are going through is stark. I mean, for everyone. And you know, but you know, the issue that he also raised is you know, for one, government is a continuum.
Yes.
We can't take that away.
Yes.
There are things that in all of the consultations that you discussed that, you know, government has been having with labor and all those things, you know, structures and everything, what has been hindering those decisions? What are the things that you would say were getting in the way of doing some of those things that would have palliated this decision, which government took but only deferred its execution until this government?
Postponing what had been agreed in the past, I'm unable to defend that. Okay, I'm looking at today, the present government is saying, please, Nigerians, give me a chance.
Mr. Lowry, the same people are still in government. I am talking, when we say government, please.
It's the same party.
Centralized government, not federal government, not the presidency. I'm coming just a second. The people at customs are still the ones there. The people at the ports are still the ones there. The people at NMDPRA are the people that are still there. That man is still occupied by the same set of people. Essentially, the entire oil sector is still as it was. The only thing that has changed now is the president and a 3-word sentence. Subsidy is gone. So he hit the ground running, and everybody is running with it.
So you need the leader that will change. Everybody is doing things as they were. But here comes another person and says, no, it goes down. It will cascade. So that is the way I'm looking at it. Yes, okay? Unless we are saying that we don't want to give him, like Dr. Kwefa said, the benefit of doubt. Unless we are saying that he is going to tow the same way.
You see, the benefit of doubt, we've given the benefit of doubt since this republic began. Forgive me, I mean, I'm a Nigerian, just as you said. I buy fuel in the open market. Yes. He buys fuel in the open. I'm pretty sure that Dr. Kwefa also buys fuel in the open market.
Everyone does. Any depot in his house.
Even the NNPC buys from the open market. But the point now is, people have trusted over time. I can say this to you. I have spoken with one or two people who opposed this president before he came into power, saying that if anyone should come out to say that they want to protest, that they are the ones that will fight them. Let's deal with this thing once and for all, and let's suffer the suffer and not have to go.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. Yeah.
But trust is earned. Day one, the president fires a shot, and everyone is scampering. So what's the assurance? What do people need to do to trust government? What does the government need to do for people to earn the trust of the people, which has been greatly depleted over the years?
The issue now is, I agree with all the points you have raised, but the issue is, do we want to still continue what has been going on? This new man says, trust me. And some people are saying, you have not earned it yet. Let's look at you. And he said, yes, you can look at me, but I can't continue. I can't. Please, give me a chance. Give me a chance. That is the message. And that engagement is ongoing. It's ongoing. It will take some time.
Let me ask Dr. Okwefa one question. Dr. Okwefa, it wasn't the NNPC that made the announcement to increase the pump price on Monday, May 29. As soon as the announcement was made, action followed immediately. I went to a fuel station about 2 hours after the announcement was made.
By the president.
And after the president's statement, it wasn't even an order. He was just recapping what had been done and making a statement. Based on these facts, subsidy is gone.
Yes.
But it wasn't the NMDPRA that made the announcement that fuel prices could now be increased. It was those people at the fuel pumps, the fuel stations, that did what they needed to do, spontaneous reaction of the people. So, in that regard, and this is just one, God knows how many other announcements are going to come that people are going to increase prices of their products and services. Is there any way that we can manage that as well, such that we, the people who employed people to govern us, do not also make lives worse for ourselves?
I think that's right on point. Let me say, the people are reacting to the PIA Act. When you say a sector is regulated, and nobody fixed the price, exactly. PCL has not fixed price. They've only given a transfer cost plus price to their retailers. If you read the letter, it's clear. So it is their own retailers they've given price to. But going by how me and you will react going forward, I think government needs to do much more effective communication, and government should continue to provide information. And the president made one of such statements yesterday to give assurance that this government is already looking into issue of salary adjustment. In the program of the government mentioned incentivizing medium and small-scale businesses. The government mentioned a lot of economic program that will bring succor to people. And these are things that are already taken off. Now, going to the major players, each importer will now work out to compete in the space. NMDPRA and the FCCPC, that is the Consumer Protection Council, yes, will also be there to protect Nigerians and the Nigerian interest. So what I think, what I would propose is much more communication to the people to build trust and to build confidence in the government. And we should also not be confused. If you watch the statement after the first meeting, it's expected. The media went out and said deadlock. No, that's not the word. In any labor negotiation with government, the first meeting doesn't come out with anything, but to say, go back, talk to your people, these are my position, labor will come, this is our position, we are going back. And if you watch what happened yesterday, the NLC called for a strike and said it is a 7-day notice, counting the day for May 29, when the meeting was held yesterday. The TUC came up and said they have compiled their own positions as decided at the previous day at the meeting with the government, and they are going to table it before government, and they will start discussion. And after that, they will come out. That is what we expect to happen. So the appeal now is to the Nigerian Labour Congress to follow the dictates of the Nigerian people. There are two sections of Nigerian people. There is the urban and the rural. The urban people, which many of us belong to, majority are saying this subsidy regime should go. The people in the rural sector are indifferent. And these are the wretched of the heart people. They are the people that me and you should be concerned more about, while we're concerned about everybody. So the Nigerian Labour Congress should also look inward. Because I am aware, and I'm saying it can go there, Nigerian Labour Congress and the Labour movement are not against subsidy removal. It's in their statement. What they're asking is refineries to be fixed.
Yeah.
Palliative or interventions to be made.
Yeah.
Further consultations to be made. The truth and the fact is that consultation has been going on and is ongoing. It started not with this government. It started even with Obasanjo, Yaradua, who brought the price down. Followed by Jonathan. There was Shopi, there was intervention. I was commissioner in Lagos for transportation, and I know there was transport intervention. But because we were doing the wrong thing, we kept the subsidy on, all those benefits disappeared. So what we need now to move now is to NLC to put on the table the requirements for Nigerian workers to protect the Nigerian worker. We want this, we want this. Meet with government. Let them have trust between themselves, that is the government and the labor leaders, just like TUC is doing. Let's have a common opinion, like this thing is gone. Going forward, we want this done. The subsidy going is the position of the law as of today.
Okay.
2, it is the position of majority of Nigerians.
Okay.
3, the government has promised to work on power. If power is okay, transportation infrastructure is improved, the cost of travel will not go. And I'll give this word. In 2012, when the pump price went from 65 to 120 or 140 before it came back to 97, we met in Lagos State with the transport union, and I'm going to appeal to all state government to call the transport organizations to a meeting. We negotiated the increase. If price had increased by 200%, you don't have to increase transportation costs by 200%. If it increased by 100%, you don't have to increase by 100%. Because you're going to buy one full tank and you're going to carry 14, 15 to 20 people. The price should spread. And we negotiated in 2012 to a 30% increase in transportation costs. We didn't fix the price. It's a negotiation. Those are the things the Nigerian Labour Congress should think of. Go to the table, bring out the interests of Nigerian workers, put it on the table. Don't stay out of discussion or negotiation. You have to talk. Don't threaten with strike. I know that strike is an instrument of negotiation and it's a right of the Nigerian worker. But don't turn it to an instrument of threat. Go to the negotiation table, discuss. We can't continue with a system that we don't have the resources to take care of us. There is no money. What we are referring to is in the budget is just an appropriation. It might have even been finished, but we are told it has not even been made available. So why are we living on things that we have no control over? So I'm appealing to government, be open, be honest in the discussion, be truthful to the people, come out with interventions that will ameliorate the pace, and to the labor people, please go and talk our interest, not any other interest. Go to the negotiation table, discuss, remove the strike, and let's go and move this country forward.
Mr. Lowry, we can't talk about this without bringing in the Dangote refinery. Where does this fit in all of this that we're talking about? And how, should I say, useful, or is it going to alleviate the suffering of the people in any way?
Oh, definitely. The refinery, when it starts churning out the products.
In July, August, from what we're told?
For now, I don't want to give it.
No, that's what Dangote himself said
okay,
at the commissioning.
Because I'm not part of it. Yes.
Yes.
So July, August, whatever, whenever it comes out, the first thing that will happen is that the product will be available. Okay? But you know...
Will it affect the price?
Yes.
No, you know when a plant starts, it doesn't get to maximum immediately.
Yes.
It starts and then increases
capacity.
But it will get to a point where the product will be available. Now, price. There's so many things that affect price. Okay? There's so many things that affect price. So my own advice will be, in addition to what Dr. Kwefa has said, my own advice is that even Dangote Refinery or Dangote as a company must be part of the engagement process. Okay? They must also come and maybe some minor sacrifice from beginning, which they may recover later. You know, a businessman will not sacrifice forever, but he can sit down and then we say, fine, what's the quantity coming up this month? You talk about it. This is not the first time. Okay, when I've been around the oil industry for quite a while. Okay. In those days, we used to have what we call production evacuation meeting with NMPC. And you sit down and say, for this month, I'm going to bring out this quantity. I mean, this is going to be our price. And you continue to discuss. You'll get to a point where you say, can you postpone my own? That's when credit comes in. You know, so it's something that discussions
will have to go on.
Yes.
If I may comment.
Okay, Mr. Daniel.
Yes, on the refinery thing, it will definitely affect the price. Because when you import, most of the import for PMS come from Netherlands and other part of Europe. We don't have the vessel here, so we get foreign vessel, and that takes money. Refinery is already inside. You are not going through the bottleneck port clearance.
Yeah.
Your vessel only comes into the depot. So you are saving not less than consumer price of 50 naira already. Dangote Refinery will be saving that. And don't forget, Nigerian market is one of the largest in the world. So if you decide to sell only to Nigerians, it will make its money. How much more you will have room for exportation. So it will definitely affect the price. And then, if our refineries can be at source, the price will come down. That's why I said, if you want to follow the principle of proper deregulation, and you want to remove, I commend the president, the current president, for his boldness. And I think we should give him benefit of doubt. The only problem I have with that decision was that there are certain things that ought to have been done before announcing that.
Will those things cost money?
They won't cost money.
Such as?
Such as the chain of importation. Importation is gradually going to go if our existing refinery is on, and we encourage other smaller refineries. I hope it will not be, and I hope that our able, noble Dangote will take note of this. It will not be like the cement that says lesser in other countries than in our country. Because if you remove all the things that, have made petroleum product, particularly PMS, price to go up, they are not going to be there for Dangote Refinery. It's not going to go through them. You understand? So with that, it will definitely affect petroleum product. Then, back to the issues we are all going through. We need to be patient. It's unfortunate. We should be looking at the solution now. What is the solution? Yeah. We should speed up whatever measures that is being taken.
Good.
The president should address, I keep repeating, the shame of activities, Navy, NIMASA, DPRO, their SSs should be curtailed. Customs,
at the ports.
At the port, depot, what do you call it, Nupeng, body, other persons. Some persons called me yesterday that he was arrested for collecting money from petroleum tanker, is a tax. So I said, why are you there? So you see a lot of tax force, even the state setting up tax force to collect money.
Let's ask Dr. Okpe for that question, because I know that he played some significant role in ensuring that the ports operations were smooth to help people. Well, Dr. Okpe, you know, this is one of the considerations, no less significant costs that the costs, the ports, beg your pardon, the agencies of government that fuel has to go through, and I have to pay one thing or the other before the fuel gets to the depots and then to people's tanks and all of that from the fuel stations all over the country. And this is like our last, you know, comments, gentlemen. How does government begin to address that? You remember the tug of war, if I can use the term, that you went through trying to resolve that issue at the ports at the time. Now, the chicken has come home to roost. This issue has to be dealt with finale. What should government do now? Because I know the fight you fought, everyone who was following the news knew. But now, it must happen now. Otherwise, things are going to get worse.
Thank you very much. Let me say that the situation we have now is better than it used to be. And the president meeting with the service chiefs also sounds this note of warning to them to get to walk the talk. So I don't want to discuss that beyond that. I think that has been addressed. And by the time the regulation starts getting the gaze, already we have about 5 modular refineries already operating. None is producing PMS. I think one is likely. The reason why they are not producing because it's not economical for them to produce. So as soon as this thing kicks off, you will see they will start producing PMS. 2, the refineries are undergoing rehabilitation. More refineries will show up. BUA is already talking of one. Dangote refinery is going to help in the sense that the cost of logistics, which is about 17 to 20 naira per liter, is going to be off. Then the cost of distribution too may go down because you pick your products from Kaduna if you are in Kaduna, you pick your product from Wari if you are in the south, you pick from Port Harcourt if you are in Calabar. So that definitely will also, but however, don't forget, the pump price will be determined by many other factors. The cost of crude in the international market. If the cost of crude comes down, not good for Nigeria, the pump price will reduce. If the pump of crude goes up, the pump price will be adjusted. Also, you will now have the forex. And these are things we need to tell the government to look at. The government has also talked about CNG. We are a major producer of natural gas. CNG vehicles are already been discussed. So government should find a way to incentivize people who wants to go into this CNG conversion or the introduction. Lagos State government is bringing in electric cars. Then we should look into power so as to eliminate the power situation is getting better, 400 megawatts here, whatever here. And these are things that's going better. On the issue of the agencies of government, I think we can always do better. Is to just keep, these are human beings like me and you. The head of the agency should sit tight, and technology is now available to do many of those things that we do on the roads. We don't have to do them. People have talked about the MASA, MPA collecting money in dollar. Those are issues, but not seriously. If we have issues like they did in America in the early 2000s when the crude price went up, the first thing they took was to take away the federal tax on petrol. I was in the city of Chicago then. The next thing, the state took away the taxes, then the city took away the petrol tax. And when the situation gets better, those taxes come back. So as time goes on, like we are saying, let's give the government, it's a new government, it's coming with a new approach.
Okay.
It has come out transparently. I'm not going to lie to you. We're not going to deceive you. This is the situation. And as we get into October 1, the president should start preparing for a State of the Nation address to let us know the state of the economy.
I guess you know, the decision of giving the president the benefit of doubt remains with the people watching us and listening to us right now. It's their decision to make. Let me take your final words, Mr. Olawore.
I like to comment on what Mr. Daniel said. Before I retired, we had engagement with government, and the NPA and the MASA dues, I fought for it such that the dues will be paid in Naira. Okay, just to support you, that there are certain things that can be done. We said, let's pay in Naira, not in dollar. You are in this country, why should you charge me in dollars? If we do that, that will also, because the main culprit in the cost buildup is FX.
You are correct.
So if we bring everything into Naira, it's going to bring down the pressure.
Okay.
And final words, let us look at the opportunities created by the removal of fuel subsidy regime. There are a lot of opportunities that will come. Yes. One, alternative power. People will now think of investing in that. Two, if you have an executive boss that can take you without the menace of Agbero, and you have to pay like 500 instead of 100, you will take that boss. I will take it. So the opportunities are there. There are a lot of business opportunities that will come with this subsidy removal. So we should be positive-minded. I know that we are suffering. I feel very bad. But like I said, I think it was a very bold step by the president. It's just that there are certain things that ought to have been addressed that were not put in place that would have enhanced this, reduce the suffering we're going through now. It's improper to say, go through this suffering, I know you will suffer, and you now start looking at how to cushion that suffering. Well, there's no time, like my senior brother said here, there is no time that is the best time. You cannot continue to wait. It is so I commend the president for doing the right thing. Okay. Thank you very much.
Dr. Kwesa, your parting shot.
I just stand by Mr. Daniel. I commend. I'm going to commend not just the president. Mine is to commend the Nigerian people for staying with the president and the government. We need to walk this country through. This decision, this policy is in the interest of the Nigerian people and the Nigerian state, and we all should support the policy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kade Okpeifa of the Center for Sustainable Mobility and Access Development, who joined us from our studio in Abuja. And we had in Lagos Mr. Femi Olaore, former Executive Secretary of the Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, and Mr. Tony Daniel, a legal practitioner.
Thank you.
He's not in oil yet. Thank you all very much for coming. I can't wait at this point to see the Blue Line get into operation and to see those electric buses that Lagos State has brought in, to see them on the road in light of what is going on at the moment. I will quickly park my car and jump on that bus if I have to go out. I promise. See you in just a moment with another interesting conversation.